Hello and welcome to this episode of xConnect Northwest. I'm your host, Greg Mills. On today's show, we're talking with WSU Police Internships and about them with three members who have either been involved or are right now. And here to tell us more on the topic of campus safety is Internship Coordinator Officer Kelly Stewart. Joining him are past interns Justin Smith and Matt Drumheller. Before we get going, I want to remind you that you at home can join in with the conversation. All you have to do is connect with us on Twitter at NWPTV. You can use hashtag xConnectNW. On Facebook, search for Northwest Public Television, or by email at kwsutv@wsu.edu. First of all, thanks to Officer Stewart, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Drumheller, everybody, for joining us today, taking the time out to come into the studio.
All right, thanks for having me.
Let's dive in, Officer, and talk a little bit about what your role is in the internship program. Let's kind of frame what it's all about.
Okay, so the internship program is all about, you have to be a student to enter the intern program.
Mm-hmm.
And then my role is essentially mentoring, teaching, and helping them throughout their college career to get a job in whatever field they choose to go in. Typically it's geared towards law enforcement, but we have interns that go be teachers or go to the FBI or go to work in a juvenile detention facility. So
yeah.
They get this experience, and it's a lot of hands-on experience, a lot different than they learn in college. So.
And we were sort of touching on that even a little bit before we got started here about the different occupations that this could feed and this could be helpful for. I think most people would think just what you said. Most people get into it because it's attached to a law enforcement career in some way. But let's talk a little bit about how it's useful for some of the other occupations that people
you know, one of my former lieutenants is a teacher in high school right now, and he emailed me a while back and said he's thankful for the opportunity just because it gives him some experience when something goes out, maybe unruly student, or he's a little bit more prepared, feels more prepared if an active shooter or something like that goes on. And I know they're teaching teachers how to respond to that, and teachers now are more prepared, but he felt when he left here he was a lot more prepared for that, for those roles that he has to take on top of teaching the students.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about we were talking a little bit about a prosecutor, for instance. Somebody goes into law. I would think that would be invaluable.
Right, yeah, he's got some experience riding with the police and knows how we handle things, knows what we're doing, and kid just graduated, he just got into law school. His feeling is that he can prosecute cases a little bit better, or he can teach the officers that he's a prosecuting attorney for, to educate them on different avenues or different ways that they can go about doing their job and still do it safely.
Yeah, and I would think you'd get maybe a more whole picture from the beginning to the possible end of somebody's interaction in the justice system.
Absolutely.
You're still in the program, Justin. So tell me, how does it attach to what your education has been so far, and sort of what's your goal? What are you headed toward?
Okay, so yeah, this is actually my third year in the internship, so I'm going to be the training sergeant coming next year. But it definitely, it goes along with everything I've learned. I'm a criminal justice major, and I can honestly say that my 3 years, actually my 2 years, going on to my third year in the internship, I've learned so much more than I've learned in my classes, honestly.
It's a hands-on business for sure.
It's a hands-on business for sure, and you learn applicable knowledge that you're going to be using, when you get into a field of law enforcement, or even if you're going to be a lawyer or whatever may have you. You learn knowledge that you're going to use in your career. So
yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more about sort of what your experience has been there too. But where did it lead you? You're out of the program and currently working in the field.
Yep, it opened doors for me. It gets you the connections. You work with local law enforcement. And by working with local law enforcement, I found out that the Whitman County Jail was hiring. And, in the program, you get the option to go out and work at the jail, to shadow those officers, follow them on their duties. And that's how I got the job. Is, you know, I was shadowing these officers and they had an opening and I ended up getting that spot. And you know, every day I can pull experiences and situations that I've learned from with the internship and some of the training I had with the internship and apply it to my actual everyday work. Yeah. And it helps me out, and it, you know, it helps the facility out obviously too. So
now, coming into the internship, what are the students maybe expecting, or what can they expect when they enter the internship? So we're starting brand new. So what does it look like?
So coming into the program, we start with aside from the application process and whatnot, they start with a approximate 100-hour academy, and it follows very similarly to what they're going to learn in the police academy. Just the classes are a little shorter and it's not quite as extensive at that point. But they get 20 hours of defensive tactics training. They get pepper spray. They get traffic control and direction. They get use of force and how we use force. They get just a broad range of everything, to include traffic stops and how to make traffic stops. They get criminal law and criminal procedure and patrol procedures, which, you know, prepares them for what to expect throughout the semester while they're doing ride-alongs. And when they get in a patrol car with an officer and an officer goes hands-on with somebody, they can assist that officer in helping take somebody into custody.
I was going to ask that. How hands-on can you be while you're in the program, or is it really watching it? Justin, what do you think?
Justin had one of his first experiences.
Is that right?
With a hands-on situation.
So. It depends. You're with the officer and you're you're an extra set of hands for them. You're their unarmed backup. You're an extra set of eyes for them. But yeah, you have the ability to use force if you have to, if you're with the officer and you have to get that subject into custody. So it definitely can get hands-on, and it does.
Sure, but I would imagine, you know, being unarmed, as you say, there has to be a certain protocol of things you understand, or parts of it that you can be involved in and parts that you can't. Is that
definitely
true?
There definitely is. A lot of the times when we're responding to these calls, we're actually going to be, when we say we do a traffic stop, they're going to be at the front on the driver's side, and we're going to be at the back near the rear. We're just going to be an extra set of eyes looking in. So we're not going to be right up there because obviously we are unarmed, but we do get to do what they do. So
yeah, it's amazing. It sounds like you're very involved at almost every level, it sounds like. Did you have an experience similar to that early on, or did it take a while?
It took a while. It took a while. He got it right out the bat, but I mean, it's going to happen. I mean, you're dealing with people who aren't going to cooperate with you, and you see how officers overcome that. Some can do it verbally, and sometimes that doesn't quite accomplish the goal. And sometimes you have to go hands-on, and you kind of can see how the officer handles these different situations, and you can learn from it. The same thing as the officer's learning from it too. Every situation they go into, they're learning, and you're pulling that knowledge as well. And you get the input from the officer on what you did, and you get to ask the officer exactly why'd you go about doing that this way, and you really grab a large part of that knowledge.
Officer Stewart, let's talk about the success of the program. How does it, is there a ranking system? Do you have a way of measuring its success, or how do you measure its success?
I say within the first year, we have about a 90% success rate of having somebody get hired in the field of their choice. And that might even be a little low number. This year already, before graduating, we had 5 interns lined up and hired, and 2 of them start the academy in 7 days.
Okay.
Others start the academy next month just because the academy's so full. So we have interns that are graduating and have a job lined up. You know, they start 2 days after graduation. Some interns it takes a little bit longer. It just depends on when they start their application process. But they all are prepared for it. And they all leave with a reference, a law enforcement reference. It's not like they're in college, you know, and they're working at McDonald's to be a police officer, or to get through their college career, they're working in law enforcement. Background investigators talk to us. They look at their personnel files. They talk to multiple officers in our agency, or in Pullman, or at Whitman County Jail, and get a good sense of how the person's going to respond to an everyday law enforcement type situation. So it greatly benefits the student in how they're prepared for the application and testing process in law enforcement, interviews, and throughout the academy and their career.
If you had a way to sort of ask some of your former students, maybe, I'm assuming you have communication with them down the line oftentimes, with what the difference was with those people who got into the academy maybe who didn't have this opportunity? Matt, have you run into?
I haven't gone through an academy, but
okay.
One thing is that people kind of go into it more blind. They don't have an understanding. They don't have experiences to pull from, situations to pull from, and some of the knowledge they can gain from the officers that we can. So it definitely helps when it comes to mock scenes. At academy, you're going to go through mock scenes every step of the way.
Absolutely.
And we go through mock scenes in training. We go to real scenes. We go to real calls with the officer. So you're able to pull the experiences you learn from all those and apply it at the academy. And so it's going to help you stand out. It's going to help you succeed more. And you're not going to get stuck on step one. You're above that. You've built kind of a baseline knowledge going into the academy. And a lot of people have to start fresh. They don't have anything to pull from. So that's one of the big differences between those who had this program and who haven't.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you from
absolutely.
what you've heard and feedback?
Absolutely. Typically it takes people a lot longer to get through the interview process as well, if they don't have without this experience, because we have interview training. So, and law enforcement interviews are not anything like any other job interview. So we hold multiple interview classes, and then we hold promotional interviews or other training interviews, where they have troopers and Moscow police officers or Whitman County sheriffs sitting on the panel, and they don't know the people interviewing them, which gets them that experience and immediate feedback from what things they did or didn't do that was great or needs improvement on.
Yeah. Real quick, as we're getting close to the end of our time here, where do we go for more information about this program? If somebody wants to find
more
out
information, you can go onto the WSU Police Department website. There's a link to the internship program. There's a lot of information on that website. If they have more information, they can certainly call the WSU Police Department, call me, my line directly, or email me at kelly.stewart@wsu.edu, and I would be more than happy to send out more information or answer any questions anybody has.
That's great. I know we're really short on time. One key takeaway. What's from your internship so far?
I mean, that's such a broad question. I would have to say there's all the knowledge that you learn all put together. We have weekly meetings, weekly trainings that we get to have, and we learned so much knowledge that we're going to use in law enforcement. But I have to say the key thing is getting through the hiring process, getting through the interview process and the background check and everything like that, because it really helps. So I'd have to say all the knowledge that you learn, definitely.
It sets you up to be in a better position for success in the career. It really does. It helps you out, and it gives you a lot more knowledge, and day one on the job you're going to be a little bit more confident in your abilities, and that's speaking from experience. Day one at my job, I was a lot more confident in my abilities than a lot of my peers who have started on their first day, because I had a lot of baseline knowledge and experience to pull from.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Officer Kim.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot to Officer Stewart, Mr. Smith, Mr. Drumheller for joining us today, and thank you at home for helping us out. Hope you enjoyed today's show. Remember, you can stay connected with us all week by tweeting us. You can like us on Facebook, add us to your circle on Google+, or email us at kwsutv@wsu.edu. Send us those show ideas. We love to see them, and if you missed any part of today's show, no worries. It'll be available online at nwptv.org. Next time on xConnect Northwest, it's earthquakes. We're going to talk with Catherine Cooper. She'll join us live from Pullman. And if you have questions for her, feel free to connect with us online. I'm Greg Mills. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on air and online.